Welcome to another Big Dave DIY. I've got a fairly simple service that I'm doing today on our 2005 CRV. Doing a transmission fluid service. It's much needed. We bought this CRV a little over a year ago, and I'm not sure when the last service was done, but it is recommended to do at regular intervals. And I've checked the fluid. It's a little on the brown side, doesn't smell burnt yet, but it definitely is time for that service. What you experience with unserviced transmission fluid is slipping gears, missed gears, and just a rough ride overall as far as the shifting of gears go while driving. So pretty simple service. If you know how to change your oil, you'll definitely know how to change your transmission fluid. It just takes a couple of extra steps, and you got to keep in mind a couple of extra details. For instance, you're going to need some washers, and these transmission washers are a little bit bigger in diameter than your standard oil plug washers. So ask for those specifically. Transmission washers, crush washers. You don't want to skimp on this. If you use non-Honda genuine oil, if you don't use genuine coolant, you definitely don't want to skimp on this. I highly recommend using the Honda genuine transmission fluid. It's the ATF Z1. This fluid is universal for most Honda vehicles, if not all of them, but you don't want to skimp on this. You don't want to go with the cheap stuff. You don't even want to go with anything that's high-end that is not Honda. You want to go with Honda only. Otherwise you're going to experience some problems with your transmission down the road. Hondas are very finicky when it comes to their transmission fluid and what they want, what they desire. So ATF Z1. I've got a total of 6 models here. A basic service would be draining your fluid. Transmission is a fairly big component. It holds almost, even after you drain it, the lower part of the transmission holds almost half of the total amount of your transmission fluid that sits in your automatic transmission unit. Now, that's another thing I failed to mention, and I think CRVs only come in automatics, but this is an automatic transmission for a 2005 CRV. It's the EX model. So typically when you drain the fluid, it will drain 3 quarts, so you want to put 3 quarts back in. We're going to seal it back up, and we're going to run it for a little bit, take it out for a little drive, run it through all of its gears to mix that fresh fluid with the rest of the old fluid, and then we're going to drain it one more time and put 3 more coats of transmission fluid in. It's going to still have a wee bit of that old fluid in there, but it's going to dilute it out enough to where the majority of the fluid that's still running through your transmission is the fresh fluid, and that's what you're looking for. This video is not about flushing the fluid, and it's not about running any chemicals or anything like that through the transmission to completely flush and clean it out and start over with a brand new batch of fluid. What we're doing is a basic service. We're draining and filling, and then draining and filling again. Last transmission service I did on my Civic over here, I did a drain and fill 3 times, and that gets it to the point that it might as well be a transmission flush. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's get under here and see what we're working with. We got our oil pan right here, and there is our oil pan bolt. There is the washer wedged between the pan and the bolt. over here is what we're looking for. Let me get my socket wrench off of there. Let me do a quick scan of the transmission. Here's our transmission. Here's our engine oil pan. Transmission's always going to be located next to the oil pan, whether it be on the right or the left hand side. And your plug is going to look the same pretty much every time. Now, all you're going to need for it is a 3/8 socket wrench. And you're not going to need a socket on the end. You're just going to need the socket wrench itself. And you're going to slide it on like so. Make sure it's all the way on there. And if need be, get you a nice little mallet to break it loose. In this case, I broke it loose right before I started the video to make it a little bit easier for recording. So, I got my oil pan ready, and I'm ready to drain it. Let's see which way this baby's gonna go. Okay. Okay. Whew, hot stuff. Hot stuff. Might want to run your engine a few minutes before you drain the tranny fluid. It'll allow for better flow. Yeah. Wow. Oh. There we go. Be careful about making a mess. Alright, now we've let it drain for about 10 minutes. Take your plug, take a nice close look at it. Pretty nasty. Little magnetic end there. Pulls out all of your little metal shavings within the transmission, and that needs to be cleaned off. Yeah, so be sure to wipe that off and take your old washer off and put your plug back in, and we'll start filling her up. Nasty. Alright, take your AT fluid, pour it in your funnel. Straight into the hole where the dipstick is. So give her about 2.5 quarts. Check the level, top it off as needed, and then put your car back on the ground and check it again while it's idling. If your car is cooled, if your engine is cooled, make sure it warms up a little bit, because it needs to be, the fluid needs to be nice and warm while you check it during the engine idle. Otherwise it's just going to splash around, it's not going to stick, and it's not going to give you a true reading. So there's the first one. Check it right before the 3rd quart has been filled, and park your car on all 4 wheels, check it again, and once you do that, you need to take it for about a 10-15 minute drive to run through all the gears, And then we're going to go through this exact same process all over again, except the last time around we're going to put that new crush washer on there. So once we do that, check all your levels, drive it one more time, make sure all is well, and you've just done yourself a transmission service.